Hey everybody, and again, thank you for tuning in to my channel, and of course, subscribe if you haven't. Give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any questions and comments on the video, or any ideas or thoughts. And I'd love to do videos or just have discussions on this sort of thing. So, um, I want to do a quick video. So I've tried to been pieced together. I want to understand really what all this is and where it comes from, and I've I guess channeled or downloaded a lot of information here in the past few weeks. So I'm trying to break it up into separate segments. So this one specifically, I had asked the question and about because there's been questions on like the missing link, in human history and like deactivated strands of DNA and things that our scientists and I've read a lot about this stuff over the years too, here and there. I'm no expert or nothing like that, but I remember reading and hearing about this sort of thing. Like, what is this? And was just this just stuff that evolution discarded, or does it serve a purpose? Or there have been all kinds of both scientific and spiritual theories about these strange questions that we can't really fill in the gaps for. But I remember, so one idea is genetic manipulation or physical manipulation of human beings at a certain point in our evolution. And the question of, what are we? Were we created or were we just altered? I've never believed that. I've never believed that. I just figured that we naturally evolved, which we did, by the way. So we do come from Earth. We weren't placed or anything. We're part of the natural ecosystem, and we did evolve. But my whole understanding is starting to just take a whole nother turn recently, because from when I started asking these questions, I started getting answers. So what causes these sort of gaps or misunderstandings or in data and knowledge is because there was tampering with our evolutionary process. And I was like, what? So for the longest time, and I still do, I'm a firm believer in evolution. I don't think any of this was created. But this planet in particular anyway, naturally evolved, and all the life on it, which is part of the reason we were altered and not like taken over. Okay, so there is a massive network of extremely advanced physical civilizations, and there have been government people recently that have talked about this. Like, there's a federation of planets and star systems, dimensions even, that work together to actually preserve and protect life. So this is an important point. What I was told too, there was absolutely no control or any like dark interdimensional physical or otherwise, any sort of like attempt. We're not being controlled on a day-to-day basis. There is no interdimensional beings that are like pulling the strings or doing anything evil, believe it or not. Overall, there's a advanced society that spans a known universe that monitors and assists, but they have a very strict non-interference policy to not interfere, which they kind of mentioned in Star Trek, if I remember right. Anyways, like there's like a non-interference protocol, not to interfere with the natural unfolding of things unless absolutely necessary. So, and it makes sense. A lot of these conspiracy theories, they just don't make sense. We can talk about that in another video. The idea of interdimensional beings and highly advanced civilizations of all shapes and sizes is true, but there's absolutely nothing, period, what I was told. There's nothing like that, period, that exists. As far as control or evil or manipulation, all that's been, thankfully too, like the highest levels of technology have been mastered and maintained and preserved by people with a benevolent agenda, but they're very hands-off. Overall, remember, it's not perfect. So if you point to like one example or another example that may be real, where it disproves that, say like abductions or that sort of things. There's always an answer to, could have been a hoax or could not have been. But remember, one incident does not prove the whole theory. So, and if you think about it overall, we're not being conquered and enslaved and anything like that. So, but believe it or not, we are very well known and monitored, and life here and in our galaxy and others is monitored and understood far more than we could ever understand it. And communication is becoming more and more as we make our way into outer space. And a lot of this, of course, our government and other governments don't share. Stephen Greer is a great resource that puts out a lot of information that is most, if not all, 100% accurate from what I understand. And it's pretty fascinating stuff, and he talks about this kind of thing. But as far as human evolution, I'm just smiling because I never believed in aliens that tampered with human beings. I've never believed that until recently. So I'm shifting a little bit with that one, but it was done for good reason. So with all life that evolves here, it evolved naturally through the natural process of evolution. And at a certain point, if a dominant species, this is how it was explained to me actually, and it kind of makes sense. So if a dominant species does not arise or come to power, in other words, it's always going to be a balance of lesser conscious animals and beings, for example, that won't have the capability to protect Earth. In other words, so like eventually, if a certain species doesn't come to power and master technology and the ability to fly into outer space and that sort of thing, life can go extinct on the planet, or we can't protect ourselves from comets or meteors, that kind of thing. So if that doesn't develop or allowed to be developed, then the planet itself could just go dead. If we don't learn how to preserve our atmosphere. And yes, there's always the double-edged sword of, well, you know what? We're the ones polluting our atmosphere. Well, sure, but we also have the technology to preserve and maintain it and protect it. And also that, but preserve life and species of other species going extinct, even bringing dead ones back to life, extinct species. So, there has to be a dominant life form on the planet in order to do that. And over time, if that's not done, natural cataclysms, earthquakes, it could destroy Earth and species will die out, and eventually, things will occur to where the potential for life just kind of fizzles out. But humans, and many, I don't know if all, but I know many of the advanced species out there, they're like us in that they're bipedal, they have 2 legs and 2 arms, and similar as far as eyes and sensory organs and that kind of thing. Well, the reason we have these weird missing links here and there, or unexplainable strands or helixes of DNA in our system, is because at a certain point, the trajectory for Earth was getting to such that, well, you know what, if a species doesn't evolve, then these sorts of things will be happening. And I asked the question, well, if they're an advanced race, why don't they just come over here and set up shop, and just save everything or fix everything? It's because of their non-interference protocol, I was told. So they picked the most likely and dominant species, us, human beings. There's different varieties and species of human beings, I forget, up until 50 or 100,000 years ago. Some died off. But they tampered with our genetics, and they came down here and actually altered things because we were the most, we held the most possibility as far as being able to be that species. So by what they did allowed us to evolve consciously and become the dominant species on the planet. And of course, over time, we have done things like advanced knowledge for purposes of communication and travel and health and longevity, and now space travel, and preserving and observing and monitoring life and species. And so we're getting to that point. So we are the keepers. We're like the gatekeepers or the guardians of the planet. and that had to be done. Otherwise, all life would have eventually, if that didn't happen, and earthquakes and comets and things like that would have occurred, then eventually we were just on a guaranteed downward trajectory into extinction on the planet. So, of course, the irony with great knowledge and great power and great responsibility is we can use it to destroy ourselves too. So, nuclear warfare, we could deplete the resources. We could, there's all sorts of things. We can either be the gatekeepers and preserve life here and maintain it, or be the ones who destroys it. But that opportunity wouldn't have been made available, the ability to take control of that situation without a dominant species. So that's why it was done, from what I was told. And not only that, so it's because of the non-interference protocol again. So that's why, if it wasn't us and things started taking a downward turn, they would have, from what I understand. Advanced species would have came here. They already are, and they're observing us too, and they're watching everything unfold. And again, we're just starting to now communicate with them more and more, and they've communicated with species on Earth before, and there's records of that. It's really interesting, and it's kind of interwoven with old, ancient spiritual traditions, about gods from the sky. And I think there's even ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs that show pictures of UFOs and talk about interdimensional beings and that sort of thing. So not all of it is just spiritual theory. Some of it is based in actual experience and fact, which I found fascinating. So they were here to guide us from time to time, but not interfere. They would have if it was necessary, but they are not to interfere in the world of man, or, same with other planets too. So just kind of show up when need be to kind of steer us in the right direction. But they definitely would have preserved life and taken over had that not been the case. And so that's why they came and picked the species and tinkered with it and allowed us to kind of flourish, so we could be the guardians and caretakers of our own planet. And they do have the ability. They do watch over. Like, for example, there is. They do preserve life. For example, like there have been like natural cataclysms and that sort of thing, but they allow, like tsunamis and this and that, so they don't affect or protect to that sort of thing. But anything that would be completely, if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to verify that, but completely devastating or terminal to the very existence of Earth, like a major comet heading our way that would just destroy everything, they do have the technology out there to be able to divert these sorts of, detect them long before they happen and steer them in the other direction. So to a certain degree, it's an interesting balance, which I don't, to be honest, fully understand yet, between observation, protection, even tampering a little bit, communication, but at the same time, hands off as much as possible to allow for free will and that sort of thing, helping to a certain degree, but not taking over. So anyways, that's kind of the theme of this video I wanted to share. Have aliens been here, and are we a clone species? There's been that theory. Are we just simply clones or being controlled? No, absolutely not. So we're a naturally evolved species, but we have been guided or kind of, guided or pushed or prodded in other directions, or tinkered or tampered with as we evolved over who knows how many years, to allow us to be able to kind of control our own planet and destiny here with as little as interference as possible. So there you have it. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I know some people maybe believe that already, like the tampering and tinkering or clones or that sort of thing, but that's kind of my understanding of it. We're natural. They did alter us, and they have been here before and have been observing and talking with us, and it's coming to a forefront now in the news too, with all these admissions of spacecraft and aliens. Oh man, which is a whole nother topic, because it's not all necessarily, some of it's our government experimenting with this sort of thing too. So it's being misconstrued as alien craft in the air, Well, here it is, another piece of the puzzle I wanted to share with you. And so I hope you found that interesting too. And let me know if you have any questions or thoughts on it. I'd love to be able to continue to share this as I move forward. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone's doing great. Of course, as always. So we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.